Welcome to Click for IB Biology. We're looking at the adaptive immune system in topic C3.2, Defense Against Disease. There's a PDF of this presentation that's linked into the description below. And also down there, you're going to find 10 questions. These are short answer questions. You can do those, and then the answers are provided, and you can use that to chart your own progress. So this is the second video on the adaptive immune system, and here we'll be looking at the cytotoxic T cell response. So as previously was outlined, the adaptive immune system, which is unique to the vertebrates, has both the humoral and the cytotoxic response, and we've already covered the humoral response in the previous video. And we saw how the production of antibodies curiously actually enhances the effect of the innate system. And that's the way in which the humoral system has evolved. And the memory part we will come to in a later video. The cytotoxic events are largely confined to T lymphocytes which mature in the thymus, hence the T. And their function is to destroy virus-infected cells. Now, this is a curious idea that where a human cell, or where an animal cell rather, is infected with a virus, so the virus has come up to the host cell, it's injected its DNA or RNA, and we have the cytotoxic response is for the T cells to actually destroy this entire structure. And in doing so, they destroy the viral DNA or RNA, and we go into recovery. Once more, this is very pathogen specific and has memory. The details of the cytotoxic response take a little bit more explanation, so let's just go through that. First of all, we have the host cell, and the host cell is going to be infected by the virus. So higher level students, you will know that in A2.3 we go through the various mechanisms of infection by viruses. But for this process and for this content, we simply have to be aware that the virus will come into contact with the cell membrane and introduce into this cell the DNA or possibly the RNA for a retrovirus into the host cell. Now the host cell will then synthesize the viral proteins, forming the capsids, the cases of the viral DNA. In fact, they will also replicate the DNA of the virus as well, so hence the parasitic nature of the virus. Now, curiously, what the host cell will also do in response to this infection is to place viral proteins on the end of glycoproteins, which are called the MHC system, which actually stands for Major Histocompatibility Complex. But not to worry about that. It's called MHC, and this curious step is that the host cell is going to place a signal on the end of this MHC glycoprotein, so that's a glycoprotein, and then on the end there's going to be the viral protein, and that's critical to the system response to the viral infection. So let's look at that system response in step 2. In step 2, we have what's called T cell selection and migration to the lymph node. So the first step is that a T cell, they're actually called CD8 plus cells, with the T cell receptor, which corresponds to the virus. So this is the selection process. Notice that these T cells have very different T cell receptors, and they don't correspond to this particular virus. And so this particular cell has been selected, and it has become activated to now travel back to the lymph node. And this is actually an image of a real T cell in this initial stage. Once the T cell reaches the lymph node, it becomes activated by what is called a T helper cell. And this process takes place in the lymph nodes as previously identified for us. And as previously explained, the result of this is a large rate of cell division, and this is characterized by swelling in these particular lymph nodes, which your doctor may be locating and identifying for you. So our CD8 T cell, T lymphocyte if you prefer, with its very specific T cell receptor, goes into the lymph node and comes into contact with a very specific T helper cell with a corresponding receptor, which can be detected by the CD8 cell. And this causes this cell to go through rapid mitosis and form many, many copies of itself, indeed a clone of itself, which are the cytotoxic T cells or T lymphocytes. At the same time, they also produce some T cells which are known as cytotoxic memory cells. So now we go on to look at how does this clone of cytotoxic cells help in the recovery of viral infected tissues. And so those cytotoxic cells return to the tissues, which I'm going to refer to here as the host tissues. I've only drawn one, but there are many, each with the infection with the virus having taken place, and each cell having taken some of those viral proteins and placed them on these MHC glycoproteins. And so these are now targeted by the clone of CD8 cells. It would be perfectly acceptable for you to refer to these as T cells or T lymphocytes. And these ones are very specific to this particular virus. And so what they then do on recognition like so between their glycoproteins and this glycoprotein is to initiate a process within the cell of cell death, or what's called as apoptosis. The apoptosis of the program results in killing of the host cell, but that actually also kills off the virus. And so this curious mode of response actually results in the T cells killing its host infected cells, and in so doing it kills off the viral replication and the viruses which are in there, and the recovery from the virus then begins. Very unique to the cytotoxic response. Our next video will consider immunological memory. The link is there, a chance to subscribe to the channel, and of course the playlist for your convenience. Please do subscribe.